Ladies and gentlemen, dear veterans at home, welcome to Queen's Park. Bienvenue à la cérémonie du souvenir de la province de l'Ontario. I am Captain Dominic Arsenault-Bruneau from 7th Toronto Regiment Royal Canadian Artillery. Je suis heureuse de participer à cette commémoration en ce jour du souvenir. I am honored to be here this morning as your Master of Ceremonies. Vous remarquerez le monument dédié aux anciens combattants de l'Ontario qui se trouve derrière moi. Behind me is the Ontario's Veterans Memorial built in 2006. This powerful structure is a lasting tribute to our veterans. It serves as a continual reminder of the sacrifices made by those who have served and continue to serve our country during times of war, conflict, and peace. Le monument aux anciens combattants de l'Ontario, un mur de granit de 30 mètres de long où sont gravées les scènes de l'histoire militaire canadienne, est dédié à chaque homme et femme qui a eu le courage de servir à la défense de notre liberté en temps de guerre, de conflit et de paix. For millions of Ontarians, this monument is a reminder of the heroism, bravery, and sacrifice of our veterans and the protection of the freedoms we have today. We gather together on November 11th to remember and thank the millions of Canadians who travel far from home to serve our country in times of peace and war. They served in the First and Second World Wars, the Korean War, and other international conflicts. And on this day, in 2020, the Ontario Veterans Memorial was expanded to include a tribute to heroes of the war in Afghanistan. Nous nous rassemblons aujourd'hui, en ce 11 novembre, pour rendre hommage, pour dire merci à nos anciens combattants et pour se souvenir de leur courage et de leur dévouement exemplaire lors de guerres, de conflits internationaux et de missions de paix. By remembering their service and their sacrifice on Remembrance Day, we recognize the significant difference these men and women have made to our democracy, our freedom, and our future. Nous voulons nous souvenir du service rendu par ces femmes et ces hommes qui, par leur sacrifice, ont contribué à notre démocratie, notre liberté et notre avenir. The Platform Party will momentarily make their way toward the memorial. Les dignitaires se dirigeront bientôt vers le monument. But first, the Premier will greet the members of a Guard of Honor made up of troops from 4th Canadian Division and of the Canadian Armed Forces. Mesdames et messieurs, si vous êtes en mesure de le faire, veuillez vous lever pour l'arrivée des dignitaires et rester debout pour l'hymne national. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please stand for the arrival of the Platform Party and remain standing for the playing of O Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Premier Ministre de l'Ontario, is accompanied by Ms. Robin Martin, Member of Provincial Parliament, Député Eglinton Lawrence, and Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Health, Adjointe parlementaire à la Ministre de la Santé. The Honorable Anita Anand, Minister of National Defense, Ministre de la Défense nationale. Brigadier General Josh Major, Commander 4th Canadian Division, Commandant 4e Division du Canada. Grand Chief Abraham Benedict, representing Chiefs of Ontario. Ms. Michelle D. Emmanuel, Secretary of the Cabinet and Head of the Ontario Public Service, Secrétaire du Conseil des ministres de l'Ontario, Chef de la fonction publique. Juanita Kemp, Assistant Executive Director, Royal Canadian Legion Ontario Command, Directrice exécutive adjointe de la Légion royale canadienne de l'Ontario. Mr. Ralph Ringuette, Métis Nation of Ontario Veterans Council, and Mrs. Diane Knight, Silver Cross Mother, Mère de la Croix d'Argent. Please be seated. At 2 minutes to the hour, the act of remembrance will commence. À 10h58, l'acte du souvenir commencera. At precisely 11 o'clock, the first round of the 21-round gun salute will be fired by the 7th Toronto Regiment Royal Canadian Artillery, followed by 2 minutes of silence. À 11 heures précises, le premier coup de la salve de 21 coups de canon aura lieu, suivi de 2 minutes de silence. The silence will be broken by the bagpiper's lament and the sound of the bugler playing reveille. This symbolizes the awakening of the fallen soldiers in a better world and rouses the living to do their duty after paying their respect to the dead. Le silence sera rompu par le son du clairon jouant le réveil, qui symbolise le réveil des soldats tombés au combat dans un monde meilleur et qui incite les vivants à faire leur devoir après avoir rendu hommage aux morts. I would now, ladies and gentlemen, I would now ask you to raise for the playing of O Canada. And now, I invite you to remain standing for the act of remembrance. Si vous êtes en mesure de le faire, je vous demande maintenant de rester debout pour l'acte du souvenir. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Ils ne connaîtront jamais l'outrage ni le poids des années. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. All together, please. We will remember them. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux. For those who can, please be seated. Pour celles et ceux qui le peuvent, veuillez vous asseoir. I would now like to call upon Knowledge Keeper Sally Gekeshiyonge for a blessing.
Good morning, everybody. Abojo jamero. Chimi gwachwenam nan ongogi's got kinho gago gajitoyan kinho gago gamijang. We give you thanks, Creator, for everything you have given to us, for everything you have created, so that we can continue to enjoy a good life with all of our relations, whether they be plant, human, insect, or the other human families that are here on this earth with us. Thank you for all your blessings and gifts. I wish to also say thank you for looking after our families these past years. Ask that you continue to look after the families and loved ones of those who have gone before us to join you in the next realm. On this day, we remember those fallen soldiers and warriors who fought for this country, fought for freedom and justice and liberty. We ask that you hold them in your arms, especially this day, and let them know that we still think of them and give thanks for the sacrifices they made on our behalf. Jawen mishnong jemnido, Jawen mishnong jemnido, Jawen mishnong jemnido, Jawen mishnong jemnido. That is to say, thank you, Creator, and continue to look after us. Thank you. I'd like to take a few minutes to acknowledge this land, our mother, the earth, who has also done her part to preserve and look after us. This land that we are on is the treaty lands and territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Six Nations of the Grand River. Both of those communities are just to the west of us. In case you haven't had a chance to visit them, they're not that far from here. This is also traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. These lands are protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement signed with the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and their allied nations to protect and share the resources around the Great Lakes region. This is also Treaty 13 territory, an agreement signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and this is also the area of the Williams Treaties, various agreements signed with multiple nations of the Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. This place we call Toronto is a meeting place and is home now to many First Nations from across Turtle Island, as well as the many settlers who have come to these lands from many different places in the world. Let us give thanks and acknowledgement of all that this land and the Creator has done for us today. Chimigwich.
Thank you, Ms. Gekeshiyonge. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, je vous présente l'honorable Doug Ford, Premier ministre de l'Ontario. I invite the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, to bring greetings. Premier.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning. You know, it always amazes me when I look out into the crowd and I see so many people and so many young people as well. What really gave me chills when I looked up at the construction workers on the top of that building out there, and they were all standing at attention. And that's how much we show Ontarians and Canadians across this country how much we appreciate our service people, women and men that serve for our freedoms. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the distinguished guests who are with us today. Representing the federal government, we're joined by the Minister of National Defense, Anita Anand. Minister, thank you. Here on behalf of our great Canadian Forces, Brigadier General J.J. Major, Commander of both the 4th Canadian Division and the Joint Task Forces Central Region Team, representing the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, we have Grand Chief Abram Benedict. And representing the provincial government, we have Ontario's Secretary of Cabinet, Michelle D'Emmanuel. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the Royal Canadian Legion's Assistant Executive Director for Ontario, Juanita Kemp. Lastly, and with great honor, I want to welcome Mrs. Diane Knight, a Silver Cross mother. I consider the opportunity to pay tribute to those who have served in Canada's military to be the greatest privilege of my role as Premier. And I want to thank you all for attending this ceremony. Today is the day on which we dedicate our gratitude to those who have given so much to their fellow Canadians. Remembrance Day is both a time to honor the brave women and men in uniform who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of democracy, and to recognize the military veterans who are still with us in our communities today. Every Ontarian owes a debt to these veterans and their families that we can never fully repay. We must always show our appreciation, not only on Remembrance Day, but on every day that we live our lives as free people. Canadians and Ontarians have always viewed military service as a duty above all others. To stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners in defense of freedom and equality. The illegal invasion being waged by Russia on the people of Ukraine shows us all the dangers that still exist in this world. It is a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance to the cause of freedom and democracy. As we stand here, brave Canadian service people are deployed across the globe, providing vital supports to our friends and allies. Canada, once again, answering the call, as we have throughout our storied history. This year also marks the 150th birthday of Colonel John McCrae, born in Guelph, Ontario in 1872. When tending to soldiers wounded during one of the fiercest fights of World War I, Colonel McCrae looked out and saw red poppies blooming amid the devastation of a battlefield. That experience inspired him to write the immortal poem, In Flanders Fields. And Colonel McCrae's sentiment lives on in the poppies worn by the citizens of countries around the world in honor of their own service members. And so, I ask every citizen of this province to display the red poppy with pride. It's a tribute to the freedom earned for us by efforts and sacrifices of the many brave Canadians throughout our history, both the living and those who have sadly departed. To those heroes, I stand here today to make this solemn pledge. We will never forget. Thank you, and may God bless each and every member of our Canadian Armed Forces. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Brigadier General Josh Major, Commander of 4th Canadian Division, to the podium to deliver his remarks. J'invite le Brigadier Général Josh Major, Commandant 4e Division du Canada, à venir prononcer son allocution.
Minister Anand, Premier Ford, Grand Chief Benedict, honored Silver Cross Mother Mrs. Knight, distinguished guests, veterans, ladies and gentlemen, et tous ceux qui sont réunis ici aujourd'hui en personne ou qui regardent à la maison. Today we come together to remember and honor on this most important day the brave individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice for Canada. For over 150 years, from participation in our earliest conflicts to major wars and battles, to peacekeeping and other international operations on land, at sea, and in the air, as well as those lost during training, it is simply beyond words to truly express our gratitude to our fallen and their families for this sacrifice. Souvent loin de leur foyer et de leurs proches, leur sacrifice est un rappel constant que la paix dont nous jouissons aujourd'hui a souvent le prix le plus grave possible. They paid that debt with their sweat, their tears, and their blood, and will be forever in their debt. Many have seen, for the past 2 weeks, people from all walks of life, not only veterans and currently serving members, but all members of our communities wearing poppies. Chacun de ces coquelicots représente une histoire de courage, d'honneur, de persévérance et de sacrifice. Ils sont un symbole qui nous rappelle constamment que l'héritage de ces sacrifices ne disparaîtra pas avec le temps. As we honor them today, I would ask that you reflect deeply on the sacrifice of those soldiers, sailors, and aviators. For some, that act will simply be one of respect and gratitude. For others, it will be a deeply emotional one, as you have a personal connection with our fallen. For you, especially, please know that you do not mourn alone and that we shall never forget. Nous les garderons avec nous dans nos mémoires toujours. They shall never grow old. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux. We will remember them.
Thank you, General. Merci. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, as the years since the Great Wars passed, many feel that the memory of sacrifice passes with it. Of course, our gathering today proves that the memory of the sacrifices made by our forebears remains in our hearts and minds. Nous ne voulons surtout pas oublier les sacrifices qu'ont fait nos ancêtres. Today, we are joined by Cadet Flight Sergeant Catherine Lambert-Litvinova and Cadet Chief Warrant Officer Audrey Chen to recall the experience of Canadian soldier John McCrae. Aujourd'hui, les cadets Catherine Lambert-Litvinova et Audrey Chen se joignent à nous pour rappeler l'expérience du soldat canadien John McCrae.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. That mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Sous les rouges coquelicots du cimetière flamand, qui parmi les rangées du croix, bout en avant, nous sommes enterrés. Et dans les blessures des alouettes encore, notre cri courageux que plus personne n'entend sur les bruits du canon. Nous sommes morts. Il y a à peine quelques jours, nous connaissions la joie de la vie, de l'amour, la fraîcheur des lueurs et l'horreur du bonheur. Maintenant, nos corps sans vie reposent sur flamand. Nos mains inanimées vous tendent la flambeau. C'est à vous, au présent, de le tenir bien haut, de prendre l'ennemi et reprendre la querelle, qui nous partage un mort, la foi rebelle. Nos corps ne pourront pas rester paisiblement sous les rouges coquelicots du cimetière flamand.
Thank you. And now, I invite Lieutenant Colonel Michel Dion, Chaplain, 4 Canadian Division, to offer a prayer. Et maintenant, j'invite l'aumônier, Lieutenant-colonel Michel Dion, à dire une prière.
In respecting individual beliefs and conscience, I invite you to take this moment for reflection. Dans le respect des croyances individuelles et de la conscience de chacun et chacune, je vous invite à prendre un moment de recueillement. Today we give thanks for the women and men of every generation who have answered the call to serve our country and for those who stand on guard today. Each sacrifice is etched in the cement that shapes the peace of our country and thus cannot be forgotten. So as Canada comes together today, may we be filled with inspiration and admiration for those who have given so much. Cette année, nous commémorons le 80e anniversaire du raid de Dieppe et de l'opération Jubilé. De même, nous nous souvenons du service de ceux et celles dont la contribution vient seulement d'être reconnue par tous, le 2e bataillon de construction. It is with deep gratitude that we remember our veterans and serving members who suffer physically and psychological injuries. May they find healing and peace. We are forever grateful for the families who have supported and suffered along with service members. They are a source of strength and care that is indispensable and invaluable. Nous demandons force pour les dirigeants de notre monde et pour ceux de notre pays, pour notre souverain, Charles III, roi du Canada, qui continue de pleurer la perte de sa mère, la reine Élisabeth II, pour le gouverneur général, le premier ministre et le chef d'état-major de la Défense. Qu'il nous guide avec sagesse en temps de guerre comme en temps de paix. In a world fraught with struggle and instability, where war continues to rage in Ukraine, we gather to affirm with one another our determination to remove the barriers of division in a spirit of reconciliation. We seek dialogue with one another in all spheres, social, political, and religious, that in doing so, we may achieve a lasting peace. May we all strive to continue our efforts to build a better world, lest we forget. We ask this in all that we hold dear, love, and believe in. Amen.
Merci. Thank you. The memory of sacrifice is also preserved by the youth of our nation and is demonstrated by the commitment to remember, which will be read by Cadet Chief Petty Officer 2nd Class John Allen Poe Revestier and Cadet Chief Warrant Officer Audrey Chan. La mémoire du sacrifice est également préservée par la jeunesse de notre nation et démontrée par la promesse de se souvenir. Ce sera lu par les cadets John Allen Poe Revestier et Audrey Chan.
They were young as we were young. They served, giving freely of themselves. To them, we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
Ils étaient jeunes, jeunes comme nous. Ils ont servi, donné généreusement d'eux-mêmes. nous leur promettons, en dépit du temps qui passe, de porter la flambeau et de jamais les oublier. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence the laying of the wreaths. Mesdames et messieurs, nous allons maintenant commencer le dépôt des couronnes. On behalf of Peoples of Ontario, au nom de la population de l'Ontario, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Premier ministre de l'Ontario. On behalf of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, on behalf of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, au nom de l'Assemblée législative de l'Ontario, Robin Martin, MPP Député Eglinton Lawrence and Parliamentary Assistant to the Ministry of Health, adjointe parlementaire à la ministre de la Santé, assisted by a member of the Legislative Protective Service. On behalf of the Government of Canada, au nom du gouvernement du Canada, the Honorable Anita Anand, Minister of National Defense, ministre de la Défense nationale. On behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, au nom des Forces armées canadiennes, Brigadier General Josh Major, Commander, 4th Canadian Division, Commandant, 4e Division du Canada. On behalf of First Nations and First Nations veterans, Grand Chief Abraham Benedict. On behalf of Ontario Public Service, au nom de la fonction publique de l'Ontario, Michel Di-Emmanuel, Secretary of the Cabinet and Head of Ontario Public Service. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Legion Ontario Command, au nom de la Légion royale canadienne de l'Ontario, Juanita Kemp, Assistant Executive Director, Directrice exécutive adjointe. On behalf of Ontario's youth, au nom des jeunes de l'Ontario, pre-cadets will come forward presenting the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets, the Royal Canadian Army Cadets, and the Royal Canadian Air Cadets. Des cadets de la Marine royale canadienne, des cadets royaux de l'Armée canadienne et des cadets de l'Aviation royale canadienne. On behalf of veterans of all wars, au nom des anciens combattants, Ralph Ranguette, Métis Nation of Ontario's Veterans Council. And Mrs. Diane Knight, Silver Cross Mother, Mère de la Croix d'Argent, whose daughter, Major Michelle Mendes, died in Afghanistan in 2009. Thank you, Mrs. Knight. Every year, a number of veterans and community organizations, as well as many members of the Consular Corps in Toronto, brings wreaths to Queen's Park in order to take part in this ceremony. Chaque année, des anciens combattants, diverses organisations communautaires et de nombreux membres du corps consulaire de Toronto apportent des couronnes à Queen's Park afin de participer à la cérémonie. We have placed their wreaths along the Veterans Memorial, and we would like to thank them all. Their names are on the screen for those watching by live stream, and you can also go to the ontario.ca website to see the full list. Ces organisations ont envoyé leurs couronnes à l'avance et nous les avons placées le long du monument. Leur nom est également affiché à l'écran et vous pouvez également vous rendre sur le site ontario.ca pour voir la liste complète. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one last component to our ceremony. Please turn your attention to the eastern sky, where momentarily we will see the newest Hercules model, the CC-130J, flown by 436 Transport Squadron at 8 Wings, Canadian Forces Base, Trenton. This tactical airlifter, used in a diverse range of missions such as troop transport and tactical airlift, has the capacity to land and parachute equipment, supplies, and personnel into adverse environments. It can transport up to 92 fully equipped paratroopers or 128 passengers. 436 Squadron has taken part in every major Canadian Armed Forces airlift operation over the past 60 years, including peacekeeping missions, Afghanistan, and it continues to serve in the Middle East as part of Operation Impact. 436 Squadron distinguished itself as the transport squadron in Burma during the Second World War. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous invite maintenant à regarder les avions que l'aviation royale canadienne utilise aujourd'hui pour des missions dans le monde entier. The C-130J. Mesdames et messieurs, si vous êtes en mesure de le faire, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne royal. Veuillez rester debout pour le salut général qui suivra les hymnes et pour le départ des dignitaires. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who can, please stand for the royal anthem. We ask you to please remain standing for the general salute that will follow the anthem and for the departure of the platform party.
Guard! Guard mounted! Ta! Salute General! Presented! Arms!
This concludes our ceremony today, and I invite you to lay your puppy along the wall if you wish. Thank you for attending. Merci.
Praise